More than 10 city blocks of food, culture, fun, and entertainment. We're headed to one of the most anticipated street festivals in Washington, D.C.
And bringing rich arts and cultural opportunities east of the river, the Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center is making a splash in Ward 8.
We have all of that, plus your top stories from the news rundown are straight ahead on We Are Washington.
Welcome to We Are Washington. 12 years ago, it was a modest block party. Today, the H Street Festival has blossomed into one of the biggest single-day events in the city. We'll bring you highlights from the 11-block summer extravaganza that brings thousands from all over the district and beyond.
And we'll introduce you to the woman behind the Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center. Find out how her dream of bringing the arts to residents east of the river is now a reality with a thriving center in the heart of Ward 8. All that coming up, but first, here's the news rundown. Mayor Muriel Bowser announced legislative reforms that would simplify the process of sealing arrest and conviction records. Sealing a criminal record prevents a third party from obtaining the records when conducting a background check, but allows law enforcement, the judicial system, and special employers to access them. The mayor says the reforms are designed to remove barriers to education, workforce training, and housing opportunities to give some residents a clean slate.
So we are here to talk about how more DC residents can have access to a clean slate and therefore a fair shot at succeeding here in Washington, DC. Our new proposal would help to keep our criminal justice system more equitable and more just. It will help give more DC residents a second chance.
Thousands of our DC neighbors who are trying to reenter and reenter successfully. We know that the barriers exist, and I think what we're trying to do is outline solutions. Whether it's a job, whether it's housing, whether it's education, we know that for that individual, if we can remove those barriers, they will be more successful. And from a public safety perspective, we know that when they are more successful, they are less likely to reoffend, and we also therefore have a safer community and a safer city.
Each year, more than 10,000 people seek assistance from the Public Defender Service to have their records sealed in D.C. Superior Court.
The district is providing immigrants with free legal advice as part of a series of presentations called Know Your Rights. Brea Public Charter School is one of the organizations offering legal advice and assistance to immigrants who are concerned about the future of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. The seminars are part of Mayor Bowser's Immigrant Justice Legal Services grants.
It was all hands on deck at the H Street Festival as Mayor Bowser celebrated the success of the district's Hands on Heart CPR program. The mayor, along with Fire Chief Gregory Dean, announced more than 30,000 people in D.C. have been trained through the hands-only CPR program since the initiative was launched in 2015.
If you have a heart attack, it's your neighbor or your coworker who's going to be there first. A family member that can get started with CPR even before our first responders get there. So it is important that we learn hands on hearts.
Washingtonians are mourning the loss of comedy legend and civil rights activist Dick Gregory.
Many residents gathered at the Howard Theater for a celebration of Gregory's life, followed by a New Orleans-style parade down U Street to Ben's Chili Bowl.
When he left us, a library burnt down. When he left us, a great center of education is gone. When he left us, a wife lost her husband and her children lost their parents, but we lost a conduit to the universal God when he left us.
Among those that gathered to remember Dick Gregory were Howard University students who took pictures in front of the Ben's Chili Bowl mural where he's featured.
The district's outstanding artists were honored at the 32nd Annual Mayor's Arts Awards. D.C. artists, teachers, and nonprofit organizations were recognized at the awards program held at the historic Lincoln Theater. Among those honored for their achievements, co-founder of the National Museum of Women in the Arts, Wilhelmina Cole Holliday, artistic director of the Mosaic Theater, Ari Roth, and jazz musician and educator, Davy Yarborough.
We celebrate the arts and the humanities, and we celebrate every chance we can the people who dedicate themselves to developing their own talents and sharing their gifts with all of our communities.
Ward 8 Council member Trayon White gave his inaugural State of the Ward address at Union Temple Baptist Church in Southeast. As part of his address, White honored several members of the community for their contributions and called for action to uplift the community.
What I do know is that we must fight against homelessness in our community. What I do know is we must fight against the ignorance in our community. What I do know is we must fight for our seniors in our community. What I do know is we must fight for the moms who are raising our children every day in our community. Because if we don't stand up and stand in the gap, no one else will.
The Bowser administration is being recognized for its ambitious strategy in tackling housing issues in the district. The D.C. Department of Housing and Community Development has been selected as this year's winner of the Robert Larson Housing Policy Leadership Award. The honor is bestowed upon local and state programs recognized for implementing cutting-edge strategies to produce and preserve affordable housing.
Brazil, Argentina, Panama, every Latin culture in the world was represented at the 46th annual Fiesta Dc, which featured a parade of nations down Constitution Avenue.
A local D.C. team goes all the way at the inaugural Red Bull Rain World Championships. The finals of the global 3-on-3 basketball tournament were played at the Goodman League courts in Southeast D.C. Over the past several months, thousands of athletes from 14 different countries competed to make it to the finals right here in D.C. In the end, the D.C. Showstoppers beat Team Montenegro 14-10 for the championship.
Showstopper got all 3 trophies right there. That's what we do. Qualified, U.S. champions, and the world champions for these great international teams right here.
The D.C. Showstoppers win an all-expense-paid trip to the 2018 NBA All-Star Game in Los Angeles. The Red Bull Rain World Finals leaves behind a brand new court that pays tribute to the iconic Goodman League street ball style of play. All right, plenty to unpack in the news recap this week, right? There's a lot going on.
What a great tournament.
Yeah,
Didn't
the
that
Red
look
Bull
like fun?
Rain. Yeah.
And how nice to have for the inaugural tournament to have a DC team go all the way. I wanted to mention it's not just skill, it's also endurance, because those teams, you know, it's short games, but they play hundreds of games. So, you know, there's a lot of endurance involved, but a great tournament.
When I first heard that, I had to say, wait a minute, is that true? And you know, hundreds of games over the course of a weekend. It seems like a lot of basketball to be playing. But can you imagine what other team besides the DC team would win, right?
Of course. Absolutely. It was only natural. I also want to say that tournament brought in teams from all over the world, Argentina, Iran, Turkey, South Korea. Wow. Amazing. Also, we have on the network a great show, Display. They actually shot one of their upcoming episodes on location, so make sure to look for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun.
Coming up, great, yeah. Also, Hands on Heart at the 8th Street Festival this year.
Yeah.
Mayor Bowser highlighting that initiative, all the success they've had. They've trained even more people than they had set out to train this year alone, and the mayor had a very special young man with her, a boy named Wisdom, on stage with her, who was actually saved by this program when Wisdom's father had to perform CPR on him before emergency services showed up and was able to bring him to the hospital. So it was really nice to see Wisdom there. Obviously, he made it, and he was you know, great that his father was able to benefit from this program. You know, switching gears to talk about the Mayor's Arts Awards.
A lot of fun.
Oh my God.
Some people maybe a little too much fun.
I know. Well, no, it looked like it was a tremendous set. Great night, great evening. Looked like a star-studded gala. And one of the people that you would expect to see there, Arthur Espinoza,
of course,
right, director Espinoza, and he actually was doing a dance routine of his own. He got out there on the stage and he cut loose. He was cutting loose. Yeah.
And you know what? I think he stole the entire night. He stole the program.
He was enthusiastic about it too.
Very exuberant. You know, you always got to be careful about public dancing. You never know. You know, it might end up on TV.
You have to be
He's
good
a
at
great guy.
Yeah.
And he looked great.
You have to know you're good at it before you just go and do that in front of television cameras and everybody else, right? Absolutely. Well, coming up on We Are Washington, it gets bigger and better each year. We're taking you to the 8th Street Festival.
And after the break, we'll bring you the inspiring story behind a thriving arts center in Ward 8.
Welcome back to We Are Washington. What began more than 10 years ago as a small neighborhood block party has quickly grown into one of the most anticipated neighborhood festivals in the entire district. Hundreds of thousands of people come from all over to experience the sights, the sounds, the food, the culture, and all of the fun. This is the 8th Street Festival.
It's always fun just seeing all the new businesses and people out just making stuff, doing stuff, creating stuff, all the bands. So it's a really good energy, really good vibe.
It's something we always look forward to. We're glad every time we make it out here.
8th Street has always been a warm place. Even during this tough times, 8th Street was always warm. You can come here. And it's about that love here today. You see people you haven't seen for a long time, people you don't know. But one thing you get is that warmness. So 8th Street want to give that. It can be contagious. And, sometimes you get a negative feel, in other places. But 8th Street, we want you to come here. We want you to grab hands and shoulders and hugs and necks and all the rest of it. We want you to see hearts. That's what it's all about.
Here's your order. I had to stop by because when I was walking down the street, I could smell the food cooking. I wanted to talk to Carl Lewis I'm here with today. This is somebody who's been coming to 8th Street, not just coming to 8th Street Festival, but grew up on 8th Street.
Yeah, grew up right here. My grandparents grew up here. My mother and father grew up here. When I was a kid, I used to see this going on and always said, man, I wonder one day if I can get out there and do that. Because I always wanted to cook.
Well, I want to know what you're cooking, though. What are you cooking out here?
Today we're doing just fried chicken, potato wedges, ribs.
For me, it's just meeting the people, meeting all the different residents in town, getting a chance to interact with them, hear what they like, what they don't like, and what they want. I'm J.C. Smith with Bailiwick Clothing. Got a ton of great DC stuff made in DC.
Well, I think folks have an immense pride around 8th Street. It is a corridor filled with small businesses, locally owned businesses, and a lot of residents. It's also going through a lot of development. Again, it's a great celebration, I think, of both DC's past, present, and future, all right here on 8th Street.
This is a great event. It's so diverse. There's so many different businesses out here, all kinds of wares out here on the street, and it seems to be growing every single year. And one of the themes that you will see if you walk the route back and forth is you see people smiling and having a good time. That's what Washington, D.C. is all about.
A lot of different music. That's what I really like. I like every couple of blocks there's a different stage playing different music. That's probably the thing that's been most impressive.
It's fun. It's fun to be here, and see, different people, different places.
And I like that it brings a lot of people together, and the music is always good. There's always lots of different kinds of music, and so music always makes people feel good.
It took a while for us to really come back, and a lot of people thought it would take 15 to 20 years for 8th Street to come back. But once we got involved, we began to get national press in 5 years. We won the Great American Main Street Award the 10th year. And not only that, we've attracted over 300 businesses and over 3,600 new jobs. And we're still not finished. It's not about just growing 8th Street. It's about we have to look at other folks who are disadvantaged and how do we join hands and really make those quarters great also.
So there are a lot of highlights that we can talk about from the 8th Street Festival. I think my favorite part of the day was getting to serve our photographer, Sean, some barbecue from the food truck.
It's so nice to see you guys bonding out there. I kind of consider you Mr. 8th Street Festival because I know you've covered this a lot, and it's one of your favorites. It's kind of the highlight of the summer for you.
As I always say, it's unofficially the last summer event, the end of summer.
Yeah, so kind of bittersweet. But one thing we didn't see next year you have to get is you told me that there is a contest,
a half smoke
eating contest. That I would like to see.
I got to get into that contest.
So there's still more to cover for next summer, right?
I got to get in. I got to find a way into that contest.
Okay,
right.
Start practicing.
Yeah.
From art exhibitions to yoga and sip and paint, Congress Heights Arts and Cultural Center is an oasis of creativity in Ward 8, and we'll take you there next.
Welcome back to We Are Washington. There's no doubt that creativity is alive and well across the district. Our creative economy filled with vibrant, diverse people and places. In one of those places, right here in Ward 8, is the Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center. And that's why I'm extremely excited today to be talking to the woman behind it all, Miss Kiana Jones-Lindsay. Thanks for having us out.
Thanks for coming. I'm so excited for you guys to be here.
So I want to know a little bit about this place. We're in an amazing spot right here in Ward 8. Tell me a little bit about the Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center and just a little bit behind what we're doing here today.
Okay, first and foremost, we are an art gallery. So we do art exhibitions once a month, we try. And we focus on solo exhibitions because it's a rarity in the art world. Beyond that, we do classes and workshops. So sewing classes, sip and paints, yoga on Saturday, Tai Chi on Sundays. But then on top of that, it's rental space. So if you have a party idea or an event that you want to plan, or just you need small meeting space, all of that is available here.
What was it about art and culture that you said to yourself, you know, we need to bring this to Ward 8, we need to bring this here, and we need to make sure that people are exposed to it and make sure that it's something that's readily available? Tell me about where you got that idea from. And so many people have ideas, but how did you turn it into a reality?
So the idea came from really just me. I'm born and raised east of the river. And like I said, I've been creative since the day that I could remember. And I just remember my mom always having to take me to Maryland or go out far in Virginia, or go to the other side of DC just to find classes and workshops and just different outlets for me as a creative. And so the center was a way for basically me to create what I needed as a kid.
Tell me about some of the art that you have in the building, because one of the things that I've noticed walking around is that you do have a lot of great art hanging on the walls here.
First, I want to talk, I mentioned that we're an art gallery first, and we do the art exhibitions each month. So this particular month, we have Terrence Crook Sloan. He's a Southside creative, as we call ourselves on this side. This is his first solo exhibition, which I said I like to focus on because it's a rarity in the art world. So on the first floor, that's all of his work. But then as you kind of float through the center, we have work that's coming from local artists as well as international artists. We have kente cloth, we have baskets, we have local vendors, young and old. So there's a mix of things here. So we definitely don't just stay here in the center. We venture out, we go into the streets, we find artists everywhere, whether they're housed somewhere, whether they're painting on the streets, whatever. So this particular artist stopped by a gallery in Mount Rainier. And we heard about the artist, we went to check him out, and apparently he had just been released from jail at the time and didn't have housing and was just leaning on his art as a way for financial stability. So he would find some canvases or make his own. And I actually reached out to the owner of the gallery where I got the art to see if she'd heard back from him, but unfortunately she hasn't. But we're hoping that he's well. We definitely have his art to tell his story. 2 of his pieces have already been sold. And so we hope that when we made the original purchase that we could really add to the quality of his life in some sort of fashion.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a really nice story. I want to know about the people that are coming in and taking part in the events that you have here. What sort of feedback are you getting?
What the community says is exactly what pushes me every day, because a lot of people don't know that it's really me that's behind the whole operation. People get confused by that, and I actually like that because that means I'm doing a pretty decent job. But when I get the testimonials and the actual reflection of the space, that's what makes me warm. I think the biggest compliment that I hear over and over again when people immediately when they step into the space is that it feels good. And that means the world to me because I'm really big on energy. I'm really big on good vibes. Most artists are. So if you come in and tell me that it feels good or you feel at home, like you feel like you can kick your shoes off, that's what's important to me because we want to make sure the space is an unbiased space, a comfortable space that you could just come in and just relax.
But tell people how they can find out what's happening here, how they can contact you, tell them how they can get in touch.
So if you visit our website, www.CHACC, which is our acronym, Congress Heights Arts and Cultural Center.org. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the social media, CHACC_DC.
All right. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for coming, man. Please come back.
So in doing this interview with Kiana Jones-Lindsay, I got a chance to spend a little time out there during the day. and talk with some of the people that volunteer and some of the people who are part of this organization. I think one of the big takeaways that I got from it that we didn't really see and didn't translate through that interview was that the people who volunteer there sort of speak the loudest for what's going on there, and that is giving your time, high school students, college age students who are coming and giving their own time, who want to do something constructive and they want to be a part of something that is positive and want to be part of something that is new and sort of fresh in arts and culture in Ward 8. And I think that that's sort of the idea that she's trying to create with the center, and it definitely is showing through.
And so important to have such a place like that for classes right in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
How great is it for parents and young people to just be able to walk?
You can walk to it. You can show up there if there's something going on in the evening, if there's something going on during the day, and it feels like it's yours. When it's right around the block from you, it feels like it belongs to you. I think that's really, again, the idea and the sentiment that she's going for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time that we have for today's show, but we do have time for one last thing.
Looking at the great tribute we had in DC for Dick Gregory, it really inspired me to kind of look back at his life.
Yeah.
And one thing I found really interesting is that when he was starting off as a comedian, one of the big breaks he got is the Jack Parr show called him up, or the producers called him up and said, "Hey, can you come on tonight?" He said no and hung up the phone. And he said no because at that time they wouldn't allow black comedians to come and sit on the couch next to Jack Parr. So he said no. So he hung up the phone. A couple seconds later, another phone call. Jack Parr himself is on the phone. And he's like, "Hey, so what's the deal? Why won't you be on my show?" He told him why. He said, "Not a problem. Come sit next to me." He said, "All right, I'll do the show."
Wow.
After that, things really changed for him. His career really took off.
It was special that we got to honor him here in DC with having his mural on Ben's Chili Bowl as part of the big mural reveal. So many people there. There's so many people in the crowd, and they turn around and there he was standing right next to me.
Because you actually got to interview him.
We talked
there.
to him quickly, yeah,
Nice.
and it was nice. He's very soft-spoken, and it was just funny because he's standing right next to me. I said, "Would you mind, we talked to you for a few minutes?" "Yeah, sure." So,
great guy, great legacy.
Great legacy, and it was a tremendous tribute that they had for them. So that is all the time that we have for today. But we want to let you know that we have so much happening, so much good programming. We have a lot of shows we'd like you to see too. So please check us out on YouTube. Search Entertain DC to see all of that.
See you next time.